Hello guys, hope you're all doing well. Just a couple of minutes ago we had an announcement from EA and DICE that the Battle Royale game mode called Firestorm is going to be developed by Criterion Games. And they released a blog with a ton of information about the game. No gameplay footage yet, unfortunately, but there's a load of stuff in here that I wanted to talk about and get stuck into. Now, interestingly, Criterion Games have worked with DICE before on Star Wars Battlefront 2. They developed the, what I think is brilliant, Starfighter Assault game mode. And of course, in the past, they've worked on other games like Need for Speed, Burnout. They did the VR mission for the PlayStation for Star Wars, which I thought was great. But as far as I know, the only first-person shooter that they've ever really worked on was a game called Black. And that was the game that released back on PlayStation 2 and Xbox, and it was received quite well. And they've decided to call the Battle Royale mode for Battlefield Firestorm. It makes sense considering the context, but I'm not really that keen on the name, to be honest with you. I don't think there was anything wrong with Battlefield Royale. That would have been perfect in my opinion, but I digress. So we found out that it's going to adopt the classic BR formula of a shrinking playing field. It's going to have trademark Battlefield elements like team play, vehicles, tanks and destruction. And they said in the post, it gets so intense that it'll make your lips curl. Not sure about that wording, but whatever, we'll skip that. And as we saw in the Gamescom multiplayer trailer, the circle is a ring of fire. It looks awesome, there's a lot of smoke. You wouldn't want to be inside it. And it's been confirmed that there's a total of 64 players in each match with 16 squads of 4. Now they don't mention here anything about solos or duos. I think if they launched this BR mode without solos or duos, it's going to be a big mistake. There's a lot of BR players out there who enjoyed PUBG and Fortnite by themselves, and they don't have friends to play with, and they don't want to play with randoms. And if they don't have access to a solo or duos mode, it's going to really put them off playing the game. So they confirmed that vehicles will be in. You'll be able to drive tanks and transport vehicles. And they also mention objectives, and we'll get more onto that in a second. It's the biggest Battlefield map ever made. It's gotta be, I think, for BR if it's 64 players too. You'll be able to transform the map with destruction and fortifications. Destruction, of course, a staple of the Frostbite engine. And interesting that fortifications are going to be here too. So we know how they work in the base game, but in a BR style game mode, let's say you manage to find a decent house in the rough center of a circle. What if you could fortify that position with machine gun nests or sandbags or obstacles to really hunker down and create that epic defensive moment? And the final bullet point is that all of the matches are tied to your company and Battlefield 5 progression. That tells me that this isn't going to be a standalone product, which I think is another big mistake, but whatever. It sounds like it's going to be wrapped up within the BF5 layer, but that means that anything that you do with your soldiers in Firestorm is going to gain XP for those soldiers in your company, so it's cross-seeded with the main multiplayer game. Now then, what are these objectives then? It feels like they're throwing these in to spice things up a bit. I don't know how good this will work though. So they said that there's going to be several types of objectives in a Firestorm match, and these will operate similar to the ones that are found in Conquest, for example, capturing flags, except some of these will be found at fixed locations and some at random with varying types of supplies, weapons and vehicles. Work with your squad to play the objectives and unlock the most valuable gear to increase your chances at being the last one standing. So objectives are going to be thrown into the mix. I'm guessing that this will be a point on the map that you have to hold for a certain time to capture it, and then maybe if you capture it, it calls in an airdrop or some kind of supplies are available and open up for you. So there's a bit of Battlefield meta going in there. How will that play? Who knows? When I read that for the first time, for some reason the Wasteland mod for armor popped into my head, where random objectives would pop up on this massive map and then you would go as a squad or a team and try and take them on or kill the people there. Maybe it'll be like that. And again, they're saying this is the largest Battlefield map ever made. You and your squad must rewrite the definition of squad play on a massive map with no weapon loadout to start with. So you're not going to spawn with anything. You'll need to loot equipment scattered throughout the map, so loot's in the game. They've had to develop that system. Securing objectives and controlling key landmarks that will define most confrontations. But how you and your squad get there and how well equipped you are and when you do will never be the same. The randomness of BR there coming into it. And then they talk a bit about vehicles. So in Firestorm, combat vehicles like the powerful Panzer tank, hello, there's a Panzer in BR, have now entered the Battle Royale fray. Getting hold of a tank can give you a great edge, but you're not going to be invincible. I think this is going to be very hard for them to balance, but we'll see. And it then goes on, you need to measure risk versus reward if you challenge other squads to secure the battlefield's most fearsome hardware. So maybe some kind of challenge to get the tank in the first place. Jumping into a transport vehicle will give your squad an edge in speed and power, and if you find something with wheels you can drive it into battle or plot a quick escape. That tells me that if there's any props on the map and they've got wheels like lorries, trucks, transport vehicles, cars, pedestrian vehicles, whatever, if it's got wheels you can drive it. That's cool. Okay, so what can we take away from all of this then? Well, first off, the announcement that Criterion are making the VR mode. I've got faith that they'll do a good job with this based on what they've done in the past. And also, I know when Lars Gustafsson came on the stage at EA Play and said Royale, a lot of members of the community went, oh, that's kind of bad, and that means that it's going to take development time away from DICE when really we don't really like Royale that much because we're core Battlefield players and we'd rather they were working on the main game. Well, it looks like that's not going to be the case at all because now a separate studio is making it, so DICE I suppose will only just roughly oversee the project maybe. I don't know that for a fact, but Criterion have taken the lead with other projects in the past and done a good job with them. And also I think it's kind of cool because it means that this is going to be something different to BF5 because as a design team they're going to have lots of different ideas and thoughts and gameplay philosophies that they will want to throw in there. With it being a BR game and a massive map, I'd imagine that they're probably going to have to change things like bullet damage and velocity, speed. Is it going to have an armor system? They've said that it's got loot in it, so does that mean we'll be able to apply armor to our character too? The thing with the objectives and the tanks, I'm going to reserve judgment on that until I've played it, but my gut instinct tells me that they don't really need to have that kind of stuff in a BR game. I think the reason that BR is so successful is because it's such a simple formula and it's down to you and your skill with a gun and your movement or your team play with your squad. And it definitely feels fair in that respect. And if they start throwing in random objectives that will give you loot, it might be kind of cool. Again, like I said, reserving judgment. And then you've got the whole thing with the tank. That could be very, very tricky to balance because I foresee that they'll get to a point where it's either way too good or it's useless, so then what's the point of it? But that's my first impression and my opinion. I personally don't think that assault vehicles that are armoured and can fire big cannons and machine guns or whatever should be in BR. I think it should be transport vehicles only because you wouldn't want a situation where you're at the end game and some dude just rocks up in a tank and you don't have any anti-tank weapons and they just kill you. It's going to be very interesting to see how that particular thing develops. The largest Battlefield map ever. Sounds cool. Look forward to seeing all the detail in it. I'm sure it's going to look great. And as we've seen in the trailer, it looks like they're going for a harsh, snowy mountain range environment. Fits with the BR genre, I think. Destruction, cool. We saw in the trailer too that the Ring of Fire will be destroying buildings that are outside the zone, so you can't camp inside the zone. If you're in a building, it's going to get destroyed and fall on top of you, so takes away that. And the language that they've used in this post too suggests to me that this is going to be within BF5 and not a standalone thing. So think of it as a game mode within BF5 that you can access. And I've talked about this in the past. I think that's a really bad move and it's a massive barrier to entry. There's a lot of BR fans who play PUBG and Fortnite who will not be prepared to pay the $60 for BF5 just so they can get access to Battlefield, Royale or Firestorm. However, if it's a standalone product and cheaper or free to play supported by cosmetic microtransactions, then there's a chance that the game could be much more popular and have a way larger player base. So if we go by that wording, it does sound like it's going to be within BF5 and you'll need to purchase BF5 to play it. Yes, it adds value to the product of BF5 because it gives more game modes and different ways to play, and perhaps this is the EA marketing execs and money men saying, well, COD's got BR mode within the game, why shouldn't our game have BR mode within the game? We want it in the game rather than it being a standalone thing. But I don't know, I think it's just the wrong direction for Battlefield BR personally. I think it should be separated. But we'll see, and if there's a big outcry or a lot of feedback, maybe if that is the case, they'll change their minds. This does put a smile on my face though, because I've wanted a BR game on the Frostbite engine for a very long time, and I love the gunplay and the movement in BF5. I think they've done a great job with it. And the optimization's pretty good too. It runs great, it looks good, sounds good. So there's real potential here to make something truly special. So I'm very much looking forward to playing it and getting my hands on it and seeing exactly what they're doing here and how all those different elements work together. Is 64 players enough for BR? I'm not sure. 100 players has kind of set itself as the standard with PUBG and Fortnite, but I suppose that all depends on the size of the map and the pacing of the game. 64 players could be plenty. 100 players could be too much. You just don't know yet. Will we see this at launch though? I don't think so. It seems very early, and I reckon that they would have showed gameplay of it in this post or released some kind of a trailer if we were going to get it at launch. But I would love to be proven wrong. One advantage that they do have with this though, with it being in BF5, is that it could use the live service model, so it could be released as a early access or a beta kind of thing where they add features and tweak things based on community feedback down the line, and that would be a plus in my opinion. With how they've set the live service up, the devs have said that it's taken the shackles off and it's given them much more freedom with updating things. So Criterion could be more reactionary to feedback and bugs and create an experience that lots of players want to enjoy. And that's really about all for today, guys. Do let me know your thoughts on BR Firestorm down in the comments below. Based on this new information, are you looking forward to it? Not looking forward to it? Don't care at all? Let me know either way. And if you enjoyed this video, give me a like. If you didn't like it, dislike it, subscribe for more, and I'll see you in the next one.